From the news team at LinkedIn, I'm Jessi Hempel, and this is Hello Monday. It's our show about work on our own terms. We're speaking to you right at the cusp of a new year. Happy New Year. Now, I hope this year brings you renewed faith in yourself and a sense of wonder and possibility about the future. And let's be clear, if you're here with us right now, you believe in that possibility. That is at the heart of what we stand for here at Hello Monday. Now, I don't do resolutions. Partly, it's because I'm just too old to make empty promises to myself any longer. And partly, it's because resolutions always start with should. What should I do? And those shoulds always come from the outside. You know, people or institutions or culture dictating how I show up in the world. Recently, I found this old diary that I'd started in the 3rd grade. Me at 8 years old. I was outspoken and very cute. Not at all athletic, but already drawn to performing and writing. And so there it was, that day, January 1st, 1984, my New Year's resolution. Lose 5 pounds. Really? I mean, really? By now, I am sick of doing what other people want me to do. And I hope you are too. It never really works out anyway. I mean, I never did lose that 5 pounds. But there's one thing that I love to do at the start of the year. I try to imagine what the very best case of my future might look like. This past year in particular, I have experienced a lot of doom and gloom moments. You know what I am talking about, right? Like when it's 80 degrees in New York on Halloween, or when global conflict takes another nasty turn, or when an election doesn't go your way, or when there's a full-on reorg at work and you worry about whether you'll even have a job in the future, let alone a job you want. These kinds of moments, they provoke an anxiety in me, in you, that's real. I'm not going to be some Pollyanna who tells you to look on the bright side. But here's the thing. Our brains are wired to imagine future peril. It's called a negativity bias. We talk about this all the time on the show. And it was a great thing originally. I mean, it helped our ancestors survive, stay alert to danger, made sure that they didn't get eaten by a bear or washed away in an incoming rainstorm. But in today's world, that negativity bias has come off the rails. And we're so busy imagining the bad things, we can't even begin to consider our hopes and dreams. And we can only create in the world what we have managed to imagine. I believe that. It's a basic principle of manifestation. And it's not woo-woo. I'm serious about this. It's psychologically sound. If we want good things to happen, we can help them happen. There are basic tools for this, like positive self-talk or visualization or setting intentions. And this brings me to our annual exercise, the dream job description. You know, last year was the first year that I did this exercise with you. I've been doing it myself for a while now. But I was a little nervous to introduce it, and a lot of you did the exercise and sent it to me, and I read every last one of those emails. To be honest, I was expecting maybe a dozen emails from y'all, and I received hundreds. And just last night, I got this message from a listener. Here, I actually want to read it to you. So she, out of the blue, wrote to me and said, "Hey, I did your dream job writing exercise. I'd been talking at the time about joining an executive recruiting firm, and I was looking for a way out of my current job." Y'all, that is so relatable. Anyhow, that just never materialized, but I leaned into another project and truly created a dream job that I started today. I loved that exercise. I've maybe looked at what I wrote once, but clearly kept it in mind. Now, I just love this note because this is totally the point of this exercise, right? She didn't reference it all year, but the fact of doing it helped broaden how she thought about what was coming next for her. And so I asked her, I wrote right back and said, "Hey, I was thinking about doing it again, should I?" And she said, "Absolutely, I'm going to do it anyways." And so without further ado, here we go. Let's get into 2025 with hope, clarity, and vision. Stay tuned. And we're back. Now, this is an exercise I've done myself nearly every year since 2018, and I'm just going to tell you one more time why I started it. Back at the start of 2018, my life looked so different, and I was really unhappy. And to be honest, that unhappiness, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, it's true that I was working at a company. I was a writer for Wired at Condé Nast. The culture just didn't work for me. It was a place where I didn't experience people being kind to each other or generous to each other. That's no good. But that wasn't the whole of it. I had just been doing the same thing for a really long time, and I had grown a reputation for doing it. I covered the internet. I wrote about the companies and the people who were doing big things. People like Mark Zuckerberg sat down for interviews with me, the CEOs of companies like Uber, and this one, LinkedIn. And I should have been happy. See, there's that should have again. The thing is, I wasn't. I remember I was at Mobile World Congress, an industry event in Barcelona, and I was going to open the entire event by interviewing Mark Zuckerberg on stage. 8,000 people in the audience in the overflow rooms. Was backstage, and I remember just thinking, this should be so cool. But inside, I just kind of feel dead, burnt out, done. That is when I knew that I just needed to look for another job. Actually, I needed a full-on new career. But when I'd look at other jobs that I seemed qualified for, none of them were that interesting to me. And I'm going to guess right here that you have experienced a version of this at some point in your life. Different circumstances, same feeling. So I had this great job coach then, and she introduced me to this exercise, the one we're going to do today. She asked me to create a job description for my future self. You know, the version of me that would exist 5 years ahead. So when I first did it, I didn't believe in it. I just sort of went through the motions. But my coach kept pushing back and asking me to edit my list, to make it longer and bigger and more ambitious. And eventually I found the process transformative. You know, this power of writing things down, the things that I wanted, it allowed me to see that I wanted them in the first place. Now, this is when the magic happened. And yes, I'm calling it magic. It's when my idea for what I wanted and for who I could become grew bigger. Now, whenever anybody in my life comes to me for career advice, which I'm just going to tell you happens all the time because I host a career podcast, I tell them to do this exercise. My sister's done it, my best friend, a colleague who is no longer a colleague because she left to pursue her real dreams. And I'm going to tell you, it works. I am certain of so little in life, but I'm certain of this. As for me, back in 2018, when my coach asked me to write down everything I wanted in a job, I thought my prospects were pretty bleak. I mean, what I wanted sounded insane to me. I wanted an interesting, meaningful gig that didn't take up all of my time. I wanted time off to write a book, paid time off where I could keep my health benefits because, hey, I had also just found out that my wife was pregnant. And by the way, I wanted a significant paid parental leave. I wanted to help out with a new baby. I mean, when I wrote it all down then, and even when I think about it now, I have to ask, isn't this just too much to want? Too much to ask for? You know, my coach urged me to put my notions of what was possible to the side and to just pretend my way to the perfect world for me. And I did. I sent her a draft, and she sent it back. She asked me to think even bigger. What did my office look like in this new job? How much money did I make? Was I certain about it? Could I ask for even more? What was I responsible for achieving, and why did it matter to me? The end result was a one-sheeter for a job that I really thought couldn't possibly exist. but I knew that I felt great about it. I knew it really would be the perfect job for me. I printed it out. I folded it up. I slipped it in my wallet. Today, I have a version of that job. By the end of 2018, I had a job offer from LinkedIn, and wow, it looked exactly like the job description I had written. And if you asked me then, I would have told you that it kind of came out of the blue. But that's not really what I think, especially after doing this job, talking to all the career experts we have on Hello Monday. As you've heard me say on this show, I have come to believe that we can only achieve what we can imagine. And often we limit our imaginations before we even know what we want. Drafting my dream job, it broke me out of my limits, the constraints of how I thought about what I could do. Once I could dream it up, that job became so much easier to find. I really can only hope that it does the same thing for you. Okay? Here we go. I want you to take a moment now to gather your tools. You're going to grab a pencil and a paper, or if you'd prefer to do it on a laptop, that works too. That's how I usually do it. You're going to need a minimum of about 15 minutes for that first pass of your draft. Choose a quiet spot, a place you know the kids aren't going to burst in when you're hitting your stride, the dog's not going to suddenly need to go out. I often pull my laptop into my lap on the sofa. We have this big window, the sun just shines in, it feels like all day. Anyways, we're going to take a break now. When we get back, be prepared to dive in. And we're back. Now, I'm going to include the entire transcript of this episode in our newsletter this week. So if you would prefer to read the directions for this exercise instead of listening to me talk, I gotcha. You can find the newsletter at linkedin.com/Hello Monday. Or, just follow me on LinkedIn. Okay, so have you found a blank page or a screen or a quiet place to sit? What's important here is that you approach this exercise with a clear mind and that you allow that mind to wander. So put your phone or laptop on airplane mode. Silence those notifications. Make sure you can't, access the internet on any device, because if you can, my guess is that you will. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think so. One more thing. If you don't get really uncomfortable in the next few minutes, like if you don't feel bored or spend a few minutes going, am I even doing this right? Then I can tell you, you are probably doing this exercise wrong. Okay, so at the top of the paper, write dream job description for January 2030. Yep, 2030. That's 5 years away, and as we've seen, 5 years is not actually a lot of time, but it's just enough that you can imagine a complete change. So first, I want you to imagine who you are. Take notes here. It's all part of the job description. If you don't know the answers to the questions that I'm asking, that's fine. Just make something up. You can always go back and change it. Do you live alone? Do you live with a partner? Do you have kids, pets? Are you a city dweller? Do you live in a place where you can take a hike every day? Okay, let's take this even a step further. What are you wearing? Got any jewelry on? What's your favorite brand of sneaker? Get really specific here. You see, these specific details are going to help you. And remember, as you're taking these notes, don't write down things you might think could perhaps happen. Do try to write down the things that you know that your heart wants to happen. Just be there in that want. Now, once you're holding your idea in your mind, this idea of who you are, give your job a title. Again, make it up, that's fine. My job title was Head of Technology and Humanity at an important media brand. It wasn't one I'd ever seen in a job description, I'll tell you that. And it's not the one I ended up with, but it took me in the right direction. Now, write down everything about this job. What's the work? How does it get done? What is its underlying purpose? And why is that meaningful to you? Where do you do it? Do you go into an office? If so, how often? What does your workspace look like? Got any pictures up in your desk? What are the tools you use? Who do you talk to every day in this job? Who do you make sure not to have to talk to? What do people think of you? How is your flexibility? Do you travel? Now, you're really going to want to spend some time here on benefits and compensation. What do you get paid? Is that all? Could you ask for a little bit more? How and when does it change? When do you get time off and how flexible is it? What benefits are really important to you? I mean, maybe you're a 4-day work week person. Maybe you like to leave in the middle of the days on Thursdays for 2 hours to coach field hockey for your daughter. What's the path to advancement here? What's your potential for growth? So once you've jotted down the answers to all of these questions, drop that text into a document on your computer and do a word count. My first draft back in 2018, it was 225 words, which seemed kind of long to me. But then I asked my coach to take a look, and she said, I want you to make it longer. And that's exactly what I'm going to ask you to do here. Whatever your number is, I want you to double it. Make that your goal. Tell me even more about your job, what it feels like to do it, where it happens, how it happens, why it's the job for you. Here, sometimes accountability can be a really helpful tool. So if you'd like a reader for your job description, you can send it to me in the body of an email, just like you did last year. Our show's email address is hellomonday@linkedin.com. That's Hello Monday, all one word, @linkedin.com. I promise you 2 things. One, that I will not share it beyond the Hello Monday team, myself, and our worthy producers. And 2, that I will read every single email I receive, and I will reply this year. Okay, now you need to give this the space that it needs to sink in. Put it down for a day or even up to a week. And when you pick it up again, make any final edits. And then, and this part's really important, don't skip it, I want you to read it out loud to yourself. If you can, print it out and put it in a place where you can find it. I stuck mine, as I said, in my wallet. I kept it there for a really long time. Then your job really is just to do what the listener who wrote in earlier did. Forget about it. Your work is done. You're going to see for yourself the power of this exercise. It's going to become a filter for you as you make career-related decisions in the year to come. That's it for the dream job description exercise. And listen, before I wrap up today, I just wanted to take a moment here to tell you what a pleasure it has been to be on this journey of curiosity with you. Maybe you're new to the show. Maybe like Viana or Ryan, you stumbled upon it during the pandemic when coming together once a week to check in felt like the one thing we could all reliably do. Or maybe you're more like Jason or Tanisha, and you found this show when we first launched it nearly 6 years ago. Everything was new back then. I was a brand new parent. I remember recording those early conversations after nights of bouncing my colicky baby boy. So like the show, my son's 6 now. My daughter is 3. And Hello Monday has been here for all of it. You know, they sleep through the night now. They're learning to read, discovering how to look after themselves in big and small ways. We even got them a puppy, which I'm still convinced may have been a mistake, but we'll see. As for me, I have piloted straight into the particular sandwich generation challenges of middle age. I continue to parent these really young kids. I help out more and more with my aging mom. I try to keep my career on track. Which is all to say that you can bet that 2025 is going to have a lot of useful episodes about the things that I want to know more about. Like, what is ambition anyways at this point? And can we get our facts straight about menopause? And what can we do right now to combat ageism? Because is it just me, or am I really starting to feel it, right? Now that's just the start. I want you to write us at Hello Monday at LinkedIn and tell me what you want to hear about. And in the meantime, I hope that this New Year's kicks off with some warm time in the company of people you love and people who love you. Happy New Year. I'll be right here next Monday. Hello Monday is a production of LinkedIn News. Lolia Briggs and Rachel Karp produced this episode. Sarah Storm is our senior producer. Sound design and engineering by Asaf Gadron. Mixed by Tim Boland. Our theme music was composed just for us by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. Michaela Greer makes our job a dream. Enrique Montavo is our executive producer. Dave Pond is head of production and creative operations. Courtney Coop is head of original programming. Dan Roth is the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn. I'm Jessi Hempel. We're back next Monday. Thanks for listening.